Hey everyone, in this tutorial I'll show you how to make modern pop music. This sort of vibe is something you can experience from a lot of modern popular artists nowadays when you turn on the radio. And to do that, I remade Charlie on a Friday's song called I'm Not Crazy, and I will break down the song's elements, the sounds of those elements, the mixing, the structure, all that jazz. And hopefully by the end of this tutorial you can get a good idea of how to make a song in the similar general style to this one. Set the tempo around 150 to 160 BPM. Start off with an ARP sample loop. Some good sources that I recommend to get these kind of loops from are Splice, which is paid for, and Looperman, which is free. I use both. They're both really good. Next, I took the MIDI from that sample and I just put it into a synth preset. This will just be used as an extra layer on top of that. And to accomplish that sound, I used this preset from Flex. Next, create some chords that go along with that ARP. A good website to make chords from if you're really stuck and you don't really know music theory is chordchord.com. I use the legacy version. All you do is you select your key that you're in, and you click generate, and then it just gives you a bunch of chords with the notes, and you could just play around with it and see how it all sounds. To accomplish the sound of these chords, however, I used this guitar preset from Flex and this synth preset from Flex as well. And for mixing, all I did is I just put a little EQ on here. I cut out the lows and the highs and then a little bit of the mids just to make it sound a little muffled, because that's the kind of vibe that you want with these kinds of chords. Next, I copy and pasted those chords into another pluck preset and then I arpeggiated them. The final ARP sounds like this. I use this pluck preset from Flex, and this pluck preset from MHA's Vital Soundbank Volume 2 from MHAmusic.com. Just try to get some very plucky sounds. And the only mixing I did is I just drowned this out in some reverb so that it's more of a background sound than a prominent, like, main sound in the mix. Next, take the bass notes from the chords and put them into some bass presets. The first one is a Flex bass guitar preset, and then the last two are presets from MHA's Vital Soundbanks. So the first one's more of like an acoustic, electric sounding bass. The next one's more like a sub-background, low-end support kind of bass. And then the last one's more like an analog type bass. And for mixing, all I did on there is I put a Fruity Blood overdrive on there and turned the color all the way up. Nothing else done to it, just the color turned up. Now for the drums. I have some standard kind of synth pop drums for this. I have this kick and this snare, and I put them into this pattern that sounds like this. Just a very standard, basic, modern pop type pattern. And for the mixing for those two things, the kick has a Fruity Blood overdrive on it. Nothing done to it, just the plugin thrown in there. And the snare has the same Fruity Blood overdrive, but also some reverb with these settings. Focus on the low cut as well so that it's not muddy in the mix. And the reason why they both have Fruity Blood overdrives is to just amplify it and make the drums stand out more in the mix. I also have a hi-hat loop that I made down here, and all I did is I right-clicked and did fill each two steps. And the hats sound like this. And this has similar mixing to the snare. It's a Fruity Blood overdrive and some reverb. And then next I just have this hi-hat playing on every other step, as you see right there. And together all the drums sound like this. The reverb on the snare and the hats creates a more like full sounding drum loop in the background of it, a technique that's used a lot nowadays in modern pop music. Now for the effects, I just have two downlifters and one riser that sound like this. And then one bar later is really where the riser kicks in. So as a structural review, I started the song off with only the sampled ARP loop, and then everything comes in all together. You have the MIDI ARP, and then the chords, and then the background ARP as well, the bass, the drums, the effects, and this is what everything looks like all together. And yeah, after all that, here's the final result.